Thank you. Dr. Morins, you used your personal email to conduct official NIAID business, and you shared non-public information with EcoHealth, an organization that was vying for federal dollars from your agency. Given your position and experience, you knew that this was against FOIA regulations. You even indicated it in many of the emails in your personal Gmail. Can you explain why you chose to bypass official channels? And how do you justify that?
Well, let me go back to the very beginning. In early 2020, Peter Daszak, who's been a personal friend of mine for almost 20 years, I've had government interactions with him that would be on my NIH email, but almost all my interactions with him for years have been personal, as a friend. And suddenly he was getting death threats, credible death threats, and his wife and his two daughters are getting credible death threats. And the FBI was investigating, and they were publishing these death threat people, which are said to be QAnon. I don't even know who they are, but you know, they were marching outside his house, and they were sending threatening things. An anthrax powder envelope was mailed to him, and it just freaked everybody out.
Why did you choose to use personal email?
Because that was not government business. What happens to a private citizen in a death threat situation, in my mind, is not government business.
Well, it is government business if you are advising him, you're advocating on his behalf, you're editing things, letters that he wanted to send to NIH. You did all that on personal email, correct?
I don't remember, but if I did, I shouldn't have done that. That's wrong.
It is wrong, and that's why we're asking the question, because you were using it for official business, and that's what we're trying to understand why. Why were you trying to hide this from members of Congress, from the government, from the public? Should it have been a freedom of information law? It does seem that you have a very cozy relationship with Peter Daszak. You indicated that he was a good friend. I have to, after reading this email from Exhibit 6, on August 27, 2020, after NIH was awarded a $7.5 million grant to EcoHealth Alliance, you wrote to him and you asked, do I get a kickback? Too much fooking, F-O-O-K-I-N-G, money. Do you deserve it all? Question mark. Let's discuss. Would you like to explain?
That's typical black humor between people like Peter and me and other folks who show up in these emails.
And he responded saying, thanks for the kind words, and of course there's a kickback, period. You think that's appropriate behavior between NIH, somebody who works for NIAID, to a grantee who just received $7.5 million from the government? My question, before I run out of time, is have you ever received any compensation from Peter Daszak or EcoHealth?
No.
Have you ever received any compensation from any entity outside of your employer and NIAID?
It depends. I don't know what the definition of compensation is.
Well, have you ever received any money?
I get a pension.
Okay, you have a pension, not government related. I'm asking specifically, because you have to ask that question when you put it in writing, asking him for a kickback.
Well, you know, there's two parts to your question. Let me answer. All of this stuff was a bunch of snarky jokes. And I think, you know, we all knew that.
Well, I don't think any of us think it's a funny joke.
Well,
I mean, you are representing the United States government, you're representing an agency, and you're asking a grantee if do I get a kickback?
Yeah, I believe.
Do you deserve it all? Let's discuss, ... So I'm going to ask one more time, remind you you're under oath, did you ever receive any money from Peter Daszak, EcoHealth, or anybody else outside of your employer, NIAID, or the federal government directly?
No, ma'am, with the exception of early after I joined NIH, I had a private corporation, and you know, in which I used to do consulting. And shortly after I got to NIH, I realized there would always be a conflict.
Okay.
And that corporation has been silent for 20 years now. No income.
Okay. Thank you very much. I yield back.
And let me
Yes,
may I say one more thing?
Yes. 15 seconds.
I've already apologized for making snarky and profane comments, but I made them thinking that they were made on my private email in a manner that was just between a small group of friends and would never end up where it's ended up. It's embarrassing to me. I shouldn't have done it, but, you know, I accept that I did it. I don't know what to say except I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Now recognize